Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. I hope you're well. So today I created this gorgeous Barbie inspired look. Rather than talking in this video, I'll just be speaking about Barbie via this voiceover, and I really do hope you enjoy it. As always, everything that I've used, including the products as well as the tools, will be listed down below. Now let's talk about Barbie. Barbie, whatever your opinions and sentiments, remains an integral part of many young girls' and femmes' childhood across several generations and decades since its inception by Mattel in 1959. The new Barbie movie, directed by Greta Gerwig, who was also the director of the 2019 Oscar-winning reimagination of Little Women, had an all-star cast with many familiar faces, including the beautiful Margot Robbie as Barbie and Ryan Gosling as Ken, as well as Simu Liu from Marvel's Shang-Chi or Kim's Convenience, my favourite Issa Rae from Insecure, Nicola Cohen, who is Lady Whistledown from Bridgerton, Will Ferrell from Elf or Get Hard, Emma Mackey and Ncuti Gatwa from Netflix's Sex Ed, but Ncuti Gatwa is also the new Doctor in Doctor Who, a special throwback to our childhood, Rhea Perlman, whom you may know as the mother in Matilda, Helen Mirren's iconic voice behind the narration, whom you may know from Red or The Queen or the F&F franchise. I do love an all-star cast, but aside from Robbie and Gosling, the two cast members that stood out to me were America Ferrera, whom you may know as Betty Suarez in Ugly Betty, and Sharon Rooney, who plays Ray from Mad Fat Diary, and I'll tell you why. It's important to remember that Barbie and Ken is both singular and plural. They are separate characters themselves, but they are also representative of a collective of Barbies and Kens, which represents the various Barbies and Ken dolls. And so I appreciated that there were several Barbies and Kens. There was a plus-size Barbie, a differently abled wheelchair user Barbie, and Black and POC Barbie and Ken. So more on strategic casting regarding Sharon Rooney and America Ferrera. Upon noticing these two wonderful women and remembering them from their prior roles as Betty Suarez and Ray, this is what I wrote on my Instagram story. There is also much to be said about strategically casting these two beautiful women who have both historically played the undesirable, unattractive, insecure women. To be in Barbie and have their roles decentered and completely estranged from those tropes / the characters that they're known for is warming and beautiful. One plays a lawyer Barbie and the other a mother and working woman. They aren't their unconventionally unattractive bodies nor their looks. In Barbie, both simply are and exist. Though the actors are not their roles, and neither series are linked to Barbie, it almost feels like a full circle for Betty and Ray. I think it's important to remember that in creative processes, and especially with such a big movie and project like Barbie, nothing is ever done accidentally, and so I think that there was definitely intentionality on behalf of Gerwig and also the behind the scenes team in casting these two women, because I feel they knew that the audience would make the connection between their former characters and their roles in Barbie. Now, the plot of the movie is this. Things are going wrong with Barbie in Barbie Land, and Barbie learns that this is because something is wrong with the girl who was playing with her in the real world, which could be interpreted as the inherent relationship between our childhood selves and how this manifests in adulthood, but I'll leave you to ponder that for yourself and shan't digress. So Barbie sets out on an adventure accompanied by a self-invited enthusiastic Ken to fix her issues, but the plot is better summarized by the moment in the trailer where the Barbies and Kens are dancing and Barbie randomly blurts out, "Do you guys ever think about dying?" I think it also sums up the tone for the film. As I said prior on my IG story, thought-provoking themes punctuated by comedy and nostalgia in remembering the toys, various Barbies, outfits, playhouses, etc. Now, if you're watching Barbie for that plot, you're going to miss out on a lot of things. Barbie to me read as a light-hearted take on a social commentary or allegory. There were so many real-life themes and gems that were dropped throughout the movie. I can't wait for it to actually come out on streaming services so I can dissect it more, as I'm confident you could definitely write a paper on Barbie. And I think it goes without saying that it's already admitted into the chick flicks. Now let's get into the representation of Barbie. At surface level, Barbie is perfect, beautiful and gorgeous, and lives in a perfect and beautiful, gorgeous world where everything is pink and lovely. She is superficial, much like the doll. And so in the beginning, Barbie represents innocence. The innocence of our youth, but also the Barbies we may have wanted, played with, but certainly saw growing up. This innocence and obliviousness essentially feeds into the Bildungsroman / coming of age trope in the film. Hence, when Barbie is met with the real world in the physical sense when she enters the real world, in that iconic yet archaic rollerblade Barbie outfit, she is met with the harsh reality of being a woman. At this moment, she is literally humanized and superficial Barbie begins to deconstruct. Her immediate immersion into the world is one where there is a fixation on her body. She is catcalled, whistled at, overtly and comfortably sexualized by men to her discomfort, which actually induces and introduces a foreign self-consciousness, the novelty of which is captured by her struggle to express what she is feeling. This is similar to the first bit of self-consciousness that breaks that Adam and Eve-esque ignorance surrounding our bodies as young girls before the commentary of our body begins, either through this unwanted sexualization or body shaming, for example. This, of course, is juxtaposed with Ken's sense of empowerment as he enters the patriarchal world. Quickly on Ken and patriarchy. So Ken discovers patriarchy and is the most brilliant thing to him because men wield the power and it serves men literally by definition. Notice how Ken's patriarchy is also a world in which there is violence and uproar and the Kens are pitted against each other compared to the peace and social harmony of Barbie Land. Ken taking over echoes the many instances of what some men have done with a bit of knowledge and power, which is destroy and conquer. In contrast to Ken, Alan is a healthy representation of masculinity amidst more toxic notions and performances of masculinity, which is perhaps why he doesn't fit in. He is a true ally who remains so even amidst Kenarchy. Get it? Ken's patriarchy and anarchy. Even in Ken's Mojo Dojo Casa House, after the Ken Revolution, where the women are maids and have to tend to the men's needs, a world in which men are centered and the roles of women are very operational. The women are self-denying of their own desires and autonomy. There are other instances that reflect the reality of women, such as Barbie being told to get back in the box and return to Barbie Land, which is symbolic of telling women to adhere to the lives and ideals set out for them by men blindly and without contesting. Gloria's beautiful monologue encapsulating some of the many struggles of being a woman. When Gloria proposes the normal Barbie idea, which is dismissed by the Mattel CEO, but when told by his male colleague it's a good idea, it would make them more money, he agrees. This is reminiscent of silencing women's voices, mansplaining and more misogyny. Barbie's loss of innocence also paves the way for the themes of deconstructionism and existentialism, as in having her world turned over provokes her existential crises, and it is the breaking down of everything she's ever known. Barbie's existential crisis, however, is also that of her owner Gloria's, who is grappling with cellulite and the tougher ideas of her mortality and purpose. Having had, still in the midst of an existential crisis myself post-uni, I can tell you it's not easy. There are several instances, conditions, and events that may instigate an existential crisis or crises. For example, deconstructing your faith or religion, life changes, traumatic events, just navigating the novelty and the nuance of everyday life and life in itself, aging and growing up, and that looming death and the enigma of our mortality. So I actually just finished reading Jean-Paul Sartre's Existentialism and Humanism, and I'll share some thoughts as it pertains to Barbie. So one of the things that existentialism maintains is that your existence precedes your purpose or the realization of who you are. I'll just read a quote. "Man will only attain existence when he is what he purposes to be." In the same way, Barbie exists before she realizes who she is. Her true essence and the undoing of her superficiality comes upon realizing who she is supposed to be. At the end, Barbie decides to become human. She is entirely humanized and worldly. She chooses her own destiny and turns her back on the world that is set out for her, essentially by men. Existentialism considers all probabilities and advises we not act with hope, not because we ought not to have hope, but because we ought to act. The one thing that we can be certain of is our action, and there is hope in that. So in the end, Barbie just throws herself into the world and into action. She makes peace with it and just tries, which is the essence of existentialism. Now, this brings me to some of the criticisms regarding Barbie. To me, Barbie serves as an entry-level introduction to feminism, and so I understand how it can be perceived as superficial and shallow, as it fails to address more pressing issues and intersectionality. And so much like the optimism of existentialism, Barbie ignores the very real systems and isms at play. Though it would have been an amazing opportunity to address this on this global stage via this household name, I don't believe it would have been allowed. I think that would have tainted the lightness and the joy of Barbie. And though Mattel did sort of address things through the scratch the surface feminism, such as the criticisms regarding Barbie, which is actually captured in that ruthless raw read from Gloria's daughter Sasha, who actually represents the current zeitgeist, but also the initial pushback upon the release of the Barbie doll in 1959. Aside from that, I think that was as much as you were going to get. I don't think that they were going to go full Angela Carter bloody chamber on Barbie, nor do I even think it would have been allowed. Overall, I did enjoy Barbie. However, I do recognize its shortcomings and criticisms. The movie certainly promoted womanhood and sisterhood in the viewing experience, as I did actually go with my own little sister. It was nice seeing everybody dressed in pink and the cliques of girls chattering about what we had just watched once the movie was finished. I was also sat next to a group of elder ladies all dressed in pink, and it was just so lovely. A couple tears were shed, like at the silent montages, and how can I forget that tear-jerking, heart-wrenching theme song by Billie Eilish, What Was I Made For? When did it end? All the enjoyment, I'm sad again. It's crazy how Barbie is such an integral part of our childhoods and lives, and now even years later she's returned to help us again.